Good night, good night, good night to the loyal opposition. You got me here thinking, Marcia.
Tell me what you're thinking.
Boy, in terms of the potential of the Kenyan society to take a stance on this issue and to have Bill Gates now, going back to the drawing board and revisiting his policies with the Kenyan government, it says to me that, this is not a closed case because if our legal system, if our lawyers here, if our this environment, this early on would can certainly entertain the same stance that the Kenyan society took, and of course you can see some benefits from it. And Bill Gates now is taking a different stance, and he is technically withdrawing from that environment of immunity. So it is, it is worth, and I like your cry, for the legal minds to come forward and give us, a better assessment as to what exists when we look at what is happening in Kenya.
But Mr. Lewis, did you
Mhm.
see this show just went a whole different way tonight, to be honest. But did you
Mhm.
see why? Let's Dave, can you show Mr. Lewis again? And I want Mr. Lewis. I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'm being a teacher tonight. I'm being a teacher tonight.
Yes, yes.
And I thought I had a full show, and it's such a pity I don't have Miss McLean on tonight. Oh, wow, wow, Miss McLean, put on your clothes and come on. Miss McLean, put on clothes. Miss McLean, put on clothes. I'm telling the big woman, that's my auntie, that's my big auntie. Say what you
Mhm.
want to talk about. Oh, because I'm close to her, that I'm a DLP. Please give me a break. Listen, Miss McLean, put on your clean clothes and your lipstick and thing, and come on here, cause this year bigger than me. This
Come,
bigger than me.
Maxine, come, Maxine. We need you. We need your
I
legal
need
mind,
you. I
Maxine.
need you on here because, and
Hmm.
I want to say something here, and I want to shout out to the loyal opposition. Loyal opposition, take a bow. I didn't go researching for this. You sent this to me. This is why at the start of the program, I told the people, Mr. Lewis,
Hmm.
they could do whatever they want to do. I heard somebody come on here and say that they must deport me, which I can't because I'm a citizen. But even if you were to deport me, get rid of me, close down the show, this movement will never stop. I
Talk
don't
it up.
even know the person who sent me this. We are 280,000 strong. They can't stop us, Mr. Lewis.
The pressure on, the pressure on.
The pressure is on. Now,
Hmm.
um, Mr. Lewis, read this. Let's read this document and let's see how they stopped. Why Bill Gates had to run with his tail between his legs
Hmm.
and forget the whole deal with Kenya. Okay, go up some more, dear Dave. Yeah, when I say up, I mean to the top, to the top, the top. Thank you. Ah, read, Mr. Lewis. You're a student. You're a child of Aaron. But read the first line, the first two lines there in bold.
The
Wait a
Gates
second.
Foundation has withdrawn from the host country agreement with Kenya after uproar and legal hurdles.
Read it
Hurdles,
again. Read
hurdles.
it again.
Ah, talk
I'm
it
in
out,
church.
talk it out.
Mr.
The
Lewis,
Gates
read that again.
Foundation has withdrawn from the host country agreement with Kenya after uproar and legal hurdles.
Wheel and come again and read it again,
Yes,
Mr.
one more time, one more time, one more time, one more time. They get come, bring it back down, hold it there, Dave. The Gates Foundation has withdrawn from the host country agreement with Kenya after uproar and legal hurdles. But you see,
Hey,
those are two key
hey,
statements
hey,
there, you know. After uproar, uproar.
uproar.
And uproar is subjective. We got to look at that deep. What transpired in Kenya, what in actual fact transpired in Kenya that constitutes an uproar with legal hurdles, meaning barriers are being placed in the way. So it wasn't accepted by the Kenyan people, lock, stock, and barrel, but folks had challenges with what has occurred in Kenya. And we will have challenges with what is hopefully will occur in Barbados with respect to this whole immunity.
Keep talking. You talk. It's your turn because it's too much for me. Keep talking,
Yes,
Mister. Keep talking, Mister.
yes. You
Keep talking.
see, we need to do some investigation relative to this uproar. And I think, that we got to dig a little deeper to find out what is an actual fact related to this whole concept of uproar in Kenya. Uproar we may be able to think that the people in Kenya did not agree with the whole concept of immunity for the Bill Gates Foundation. So there may have been marches, there may have been protests in many significant ways. So we have got to do some investigations to find out what in actual fact transpired, that it didn't go down well, or is not going down well with the Kenyan people. What constitutes the whole concept of an uproar? And what are the legal hurdles? So then it wasn't lock, stock, and barrel swallowed by the Kenyan people, but of course, legal hurdles meaning that some person took a stance. Some person took a stance. And I don't think that the person got fired for going contrary to the expectation of the Kenyan government.
Mm, this is deep. This is deep. And the uproar, we have control over the uproar. And if the lawyers need money, we will pay you, lawyers. We don't want you to work for free. Lawyers, we don't want you to work for free. It would be nice that you do it for your country for free, right, Mr. Lewis?
Of course, of course, of course.
Mr. Lewis, did you hear that it was the people who paid according to the museum, unless the museum is telling fake history? The museum on their website, they said that the people of Barbados paid £2,500. They collected money, Mr. Lewis, and they bought the land and they bought the building for $2,500. It was paid for by the people of Barbados. It's right here before us. And they took up the people's property and gave it free of cost to the Exim, the Afro-Exim Bank. Yes. And it belonged entirely, not our taxes. It wasn't taxes. It was money that was given voluntarily. And then they come and put people on it and tell us that the people have immunity. Thank God for Mr. Murray, Glenn Murray, who explained what all of that meant for us. Mr. Murray, if you're watching, that it's like an embassy. He's the one who came on and told us it's like an embassy. Caswell came and followed up. And here we're told that the same thing was going to happen in Kenya with the billionaire Gates, and the people made an uproar and presented legal challenges. Therefore, they had to back down. What did Gates say? Folks, stay with us. Stay with us. We're going somewhere tonight. Dave, if we can see the other one. Thank you, Lemuel. That's even worse. Look at what Lemuel said. The
Mm-hmm.
Gates Foundation is a charitable organization, but the Afrexim Bank is private. So that's even worse. So the thing that we can control is the uproar, right, Mister? We can control the uproar, uh,
Yes,
Mr. Lewis.
yeah, of course, but I would
We
like
can
to
take
know.
care of the uproar. You don't have to be a lawyer to have an uproar, right?
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Well, the uproar has begun already. The march
Yep.
is constitution uproar. This
Well,
show here
exactly.
constitution uproar. The media constitutes an uproar. All the calling programs, brass tacks and all the above, we can hear the uproar there. So there are many different individuals, who they're not happy with what is going on. And certainly, at the end of the day, we know very well that what transpired in Kenya, if we do have any individuals in this country that can take a stance, maybe we need Dr. Hayes now to come in and take a stance, because it is not a political statement. She doesn't want to be politically correct. She wants to be righteous in terms of her delivery.
Yeah, I see Abraham Millington is calling me.
Hmm.
You see, the people in Kenya, they're not playing. If you watch these protests in Kenya, they don't play. But the thing about us, we don't need to burn down anywhere, Mr. Lewis.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
But it is interesting what is going on, when we think that this building would have been sold to the people and there was a board of trustees. If there was a board of trustees, then, why is it that the government believing in themselves that they have been emboldened to the point where they can just take up the land that has been placed, you know, on in a board of trustees, which constitutes that the land now is the property of the people of Barbados. And who gives who gives any government the right that they can just take up the land and just give it away? That's taking our land and giving it to another country. Who
You
gives them the right to do that?
and then give them the people immunity.
I saw there was an article there that I think that where you interviewed folks from the National Street area, and one individual, in his remarks said that at the end of the day, with all of this development, they're gonna just be ending up to be gardeners, maids, you know, gardeners, maids, and some other blue collar job there that he mentioned. And I think it is rather unfortunate because when we listen to Dr. Crystal Haynes, who would have given her position as to what has occurred in on the West Coast, wall to wall to wall, then we are having now the West Coast environment being replicated now um, on that area of Bridgetown, our heritage site.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the whole concept of wall to wall to wall. And he made another comment there that was very significant. He said, I saw what happened when they built the central bank. When we know that area there, what's the name of that area again? When you come on out opposite Harrison's College, uh, can't remember the name of the street. But that little village there that was totally removed, just opposite Queen's Park. When you come out on, I think that's Crumpton Street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, that whole village there was taken out. Everybody gone, you know. So that whole village was disrupted, removed from there. And of course, I don't know where they would have gone to, but I believe that they would have gone inland as opposed to occupying an area like that where just 2 steps down the street and they're to the beach, right? And they would have seen what transpired there
Mm-hmm.
at the development of the central bank, and they are looking at a similar behavior now by the government for the establishment of all of these different structures that they're proposing for that area. So all of those folks from Nelson Street, are being subjected to the same fate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it
You
is very
know.
unfortunate, you know. All of those individuals there, if you can look at what is going on now on the West Coast, we've reached a stage now in our development where we can see, all of these maids and gardeners and, waiters and all the above. All of these folks now are just, with all due respect, um, no insultment, but these are glorified slaves in this day and age, right? Glorified slaves, because we are developing the whole West Coast. Look at the ownership for Bajans on the West Coast. Look at all those properties, all those businesses right along up the West Coast. And what part do Bajans play in that landscape? Gardeners, maids, cooks, waiters. How many of them are chief executive officers? How many of them are managers? How many of them are owners? This is what we want. I said before that, in St. Joseph, we had the Atlantis Hotel owned by Miss Maxwell, a Bajan, a black Bajan. She owned another restaurant there in Bashi, but this is something that we want. We want to see hotels owned by Bajans. We want to see apartment building. If we're gonna be going away from sugar and going into tourism, we want to see apartments being owned by Bajan. That when tourists come here, they'll go to those apartments, and we the Bajans will benefit. We want to see hotels being owned by Bajans. We've developed the whole
Mr.
West
Lewis,
Coast.
let me just
Huh?
send a message here to Dave. Dave, on that
Mhm.
note, just to compliment what Mr. Lewis is saying, if you could put up the one you sent me, Dave, on the pierhead, let the people see and let them realize that there's no room for little people like us in that setup there.
Yeah,
In the pierhead in town. Put that up, Dave, before Miss McLean comes on.
yeah. I saw that you carried a show there on the West Coast where you were looking at access to the beach and all those little nooks and crannies that we've got to crawl through. This is where tourism has brought us. There's no big parking lot. I am very concerned about where we go now to Bronx Beach, because you have some development there opposite this stoplight, some activity going on there by the government building, and that has infringed on the car park significantly. Then we had another little car park there opposite government headquarters, right near the Esplanade. All of those areas that we would have gone there as a people and we can sit back, park your vehicle, take out your lunch chair, take out your umbrella, take out everything, take out your cooler and all the above, and go down to the beach and relax. That is something that we can enjoy going to Bronx Beach. And that appears to be coming to an end.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do that practically nowhere. Maybe in Fitz Village, you might be able to just drive in there by the church, and do a little chill in that area. But there isn't when you go to Folkestone don't offer much. There isn't no beach areas in there in Folkestone area where we could go and put your lunch chair and sit down and relax on the sand. You know, it's an insult to Bajans that the West Coast, the most beautiful area, we can't have a location one, two, or at least three of them, like what exists on Bronx Beach. It's for us, Bajans. But I want to get back to that point, though.
Yeah.
You have some, you got something there on
Let
the
me show
screen.
you. Let me show
Yeah,
you something here. Folks, again, everybody, stop writing for typing for a little bit, folks. Stop reading the comments for a little bit and watch the screen. All right. I'm being a little like a teacher tonight. So I want you to just watch the screen right now. Okay. So this is how they are marketing the Pierhead. Okay. So Dave, go back to the top, please. Again, thank you. This is a Pierhead, Bridgetown, Barbados. So you see all the development is happening, the construction, all of what's happening there in the Pierhead. And they are advertising it as a new kind of island living. Okay, it's a new kind of island living. Go up a little bit, Dave, just a tiny bit. Thank you. A new kind of island living. It's coming to market in 2025. This is how they're selling out the thing, right? Listen, Mr. Lewis. You can stop me anytime. Stop me anytime, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, go with it. Go with it.
Where urban meets laid back beach life. I want to know is which beach I'm talking about. Where urban meets laid back beach life. Interweaving past and present through stunning architecture and creativity, this new development tips its hat to the dream of what it means to live on the beautiful and historic island of Barbados. Overlooking one of the island's most spectacular beaches, Carlisle Bay. It is a striking tribute to the city's heritage while boasting amazing views of the ocean. There it is. There it is. It looks beautiful. It is shiny.
So Marcia, Bearing, what's that? What that's supposed to be?
Concrete and glass.
Huh?
Concrete and glass.
So where will that fit? That is where the liquidation center.
Yes.
Is?
No, not liquidation. Beyond liquidation. So you know where Manning's.
Oh, down the Pierhead, down in the corner.
Yes, you know where is Manning's, Dave?
Yeah, yes.
Furniture store.
Yes,
and
I read it there.
Caven's Lane.
I read it there. Normally we would drive into the car park, and you can walk right down to there's a mulch there at the end on top of the rocks.
Yes.
Yeah, before you look over.
And right over on the left side there is a slave burial ground. When they started to excavate, there were remains of the enslaved. The late Mr. Watson told me about that. The late Trevor Marshall told me about that. So all of that is now concrete. I would like to know where here that we're looking on the screen, Dave, the picture change, where there will we be able, so this is it right now, right, Dave?
Yeah, but I want to know from what direction are we looking at there?
So they're not people not going to be bathing in this. What they're talking about is the beach that is around the corner there, the left. Nice, a beautiful beach.
Yeah, but you see right there at the end we have that white spot. That is where the sandbank. Yeah, that's where the sandbank is rising. The sun is coming back in there, and that's the little Pierhead there at the end. You can see the mulch. If you can go back to that picture there, yeah, to the left there, you see those mulch trees there to the left?
Yes.
Yeah, when you go right to the left, that is where the beach ends. When you go right to the left, that is where the beach ends. When you are running on the sand on Bronx Beach, you can look over there, and you can look over at the screw docks where the ships used to be repaired, right? Yeah, that's it there. So I don't know what beach these folks can have. They're gonna be able to look out at the careenage, and I don't know.
No. They're gonna look out, but right next to it, because I was just down there. I'm sorry I don't have that footage to put up. On the next to it, there's a beautiful beach right there
to the left.
Yes.
Right. Starting from that mile tree and going up.
Yes.
That's the beach area.
That's the beach area. So what it is, and so they would not be building this here if they could not use. So somewhere along there, the beach is going to be there, so they can use that beach because they
Mm-hmm.
advertise the beach in the write up in the
Mm-hmm.
publication,
Mm-hmm.
right? You really can have it all. This picture perfect island living is because they're promoting as a new island living. It's for people, Dave. It's for people who want to live their best life. Enjoy your morning coffee with a side of bobbing sailboats and palm trees, or tuck into fresh seaweed while watching the
Mm-hmm.
local boats bring in the catch of the day. Located right in the heart of Bridgetown, there's
Mm-hmm.
easy access to the airport, outdoor adventure, as well as quiet solitude. Now, what I want to say is that we in Barbados, we want to experience that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered we used to have our school used to be around there. We were right there overlooking the pierhead. And I
But
remember, uh-huh.
my concern there now, Marcia, because as it is now, being the 9th of April 2025, Bronx Beach is crowded. On evenings, you have walkers, you have runners, you have a whole lot of, beach culture. You have people utilizing the thing with their kayaks, the whole works. Everybody can come. You can park. You can come with the jeep. You come on with your jet skis. The whole works. So that whole Bronx Beach now is a very active area on the 9th of April 2025. When we build all of those establishments there, then where will we be? Can I be able to, or will we be able to just drive down the Bronx Beach as we did before, park and get out and enjoy the beach as we did before? You know, I know that a time I went with my cast net. I was somewhere up on the south coast, behind one of those hotels with my cast net, and a guard a guard came to tell me I can cast my net in that area because the fish there is for the tourists to come and see. You know, that day with the sprats and jacks. Maybe around
Hold a minute,
July.
you want fish to eat, and they want to eat the
Yes,
fish for
no,
the
but
tourists to see.
no, but that's my recreation. That's my recreation. Where I park, I get my bucket, I throw my net on my back, and I take my time and walk and go around, look for the spots and the jacks, and relax and enjoy myself. The guard come down, you know. In this day and age, that's why I said we are now we are now developing glorified slaves. So the guard now, I have a job. I'm the security officer at this hotel. You cannot throw your net there. I said, what are you talking about? You cracking bare jokes, I remember, brother, go and relax yourself, you know. So I went on and I enjoy myself as usual. I catch my bait, some I eat, some I use a bait. We go in the boat and we relax and enjoy ourselves, right? And that was further up the south coast. So I don't know now what kind of things now will be imposed on us when we start to utilize that stretch of Bronx Beach. Bronx Beach, man, it's a wonderful area. Here people go and they do their running in the morning, they do your walking, and now you're gonna have this whole place be packed up with people. You know, and I don't know. I don't know. I
You
saw
know,
some, huh?
go
Man, it
ahead,
burns
go
my
ahead.
heart.
No,
It
no, no,
burns
you
my
go
heart.
ahead.
I am saying that we have got to look out at the people. That this whole concept of private beaches may be on the horizon for this country. We've got to be careful. We've got to be seriously careful because this whole design concept, it may not be written, it may not be written that there are private beaches in Barbados, but by design, you're going to exclude people along that stretch of Bronx Beach by looking out for it. I
But
looking out for it.
can I ask? I see Miss McLean getting ready to come
Mm,
on, and we soon open up the lines. We're not ready to open up the lines yet. We want us to soak it in today as tonight
mm,
as a family. Imagine, imagine, you're going to have something like this, and you won't have Nelson Street cross the right across there, and
mm.
Wellington. You can see that happening.
No, 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 no,
Folks,
no.
can you folks? Let me ask the people because we're
Mm,
talking together here with the
mm,
almost 1,200 of you watching. You
mm,
can really see the little like a black people that down in Nelson Street and Wellington
mm,
Street running, and like the other day, them pure gunshots licking, and the firing and people running, and every minute fire and this and stabbing down at Nelson Street, and that building is there in the Pierhead. You can see that there. You can see those things work
mm.
coexist.
No, 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 no. Nelson Street can't coexist with that. No, we don't want no red light districts around. All of those people gone, gone. You know.
Gentrification. I think Miss McLean, if you're ready, give me a thumbs up. All right. She ready,
Mm.
and she put on her clothes. She look good. She put on her clothes. She put on her clothes and she
Mhm.
looked good.
Yes, look at that side there, man. Where will I run? Where will I be running on that beach? Where will I be running on that beach? I you see all the umbrellas red and the chairs red. Who bring this picture here, daughter? Who brought this picture? Take that picture off the screen there, Dave, man.
Pitch up in St. Philip. You must be mad. Okay, go
So
ahead,
why
Miss
can't
McLean.
so why can't I go and build these smart cities in St. George and St. Thomas? Why is it that you're gonna move all the folks from Nelson Street, and all the environs there? Why can't we constitute a smart city for them? Why?
Marcia, this ain't about no smart cities. This is about people thinking that we are bloody dumb. Because, I started to say before I left that you were talking, I think you were asking Victor about where people, where would people get to go to the beach? And from what I'm seeing, and I will go back and find it because it wasn't something, it was no figment of my imagination. They were talking about all that's going to happen coming from the port right down to Brighton Beach. Because, you had the Coast Guard base, they're supposed to move that and all of that, build hotels and whatever, and they are taking up our prime beaches. In fact, some changes have occurred already at Brandon's, but I will talk about that another time. The young man was talking to you about something that's under construction as the second set of condos. The workers from NCC have gone, and it's not that they have reduced the workforce. I ran into a young man who used to work on Brighton Beach, and he said he's now down somewhere on the West Coast. A private businessman is paying somebody to clean the beach. And that is not because he loves me or the people that I swim with on mornings. That is about people.
Maxine, you're gone again.
Yes, we're not hearing you again, Miss McLean. The devil is a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I had the same issue on Monday, on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Trouble, trouble, trouble. You're
Mm-hmm.
a liar. Go
Mm-hmm.
again, Miss McLean.
Ah, it's amazing, boy. It's
Listen,
amazing.
keep
It's
going.
amazing.
I'm going to
Ah.
just organize. I had Mr. Victor Young to call in tonight because he's being censored by CBC, and I had him
Mm,
to call in tonight. But I don't think we're going to have that tonight. I'm going to let the people call in about this particular issue. So I have to
mhm,
go and sort that out.
mhm,
So just
mhm.
just continue to speak to the people, Mr. Lewis, and just let me go backstage and get that done. Thank you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. My concern is Bronx Beach. Bronx Beach is a wonderful beach. We do so many things on Bronx Beach. You see guys playing the racquetball, you see folks running, you see folks relaxing, people swimming, the little children doing their little stuff, on the beach, building their little sandcastles, the whole works. It's a family environment, it's a family community. And Dave showed that picture there just now with all of those umbrellas and chairs. Sometimes it's a real challenge to go now to Bronx Beach and to get a good run. Sometimes you want to run the wet and come up the dry. Down the wet, come up the dry. That's part of your training. So you can freely come up on the dry. It's tough on the muscles. You enjoy it. When you're getting a bit too tough, you come back down on the wet and you run it out and then you go back up on the dry again. That's a beautiful thing that, lots of folks training, you enjoy Bronx Beach. Now, I don't really take that anymore because up there now it's becoming, an environment of frustration when you see all of these, umbrellas coming up. And if it is just now in April, and then we have all of those projected plans for establishment, we're going to be having so much challenges. So my joy now is East Coast. The East Coast, I have about 4 or 5 miles of sand on the East Coast from Calawash down to Piccadilly from back up, and that's my stretch now that I enjoy, But Bronx Beach, we've got to be very careful as a people that we don't set up policies to protect those beaches because, as Marcia is rightfully saying, they want to establish these, what we call, these little small towns, as the case may be. And look where they're going to do it. That what would constitute part of that town is Bronx Beach, And then they're going to have so much policies in place now as to what we can do and what we can't do, where you can put a chair, where you can't put a chair. Can you bring in your kayaks? How many kayaks do you have? You can't bring in 4, you could only bring in 1. Where you're going to park it, where you're going to put it. All of those things, just frustrate you. When you go to the beach as a pastime, you go there to relax. Relax. You can put out your lunch chair, you can put out, umbrella, you can put out your cooler, you can put out everything and just relax. I got my bucket, I got my rod, I got my fishing net, I got everything because I'm going to the beach to relax, And West Coast, don't cut it with me. Don't cut it, period. Because my first frustration is, where do I park? Where do I park? When you come out of Fitzvillage, at least Fitzvillage is the only where I can just, just come off there by the church, park there by the church, and maybe go on. But right in front of that area by the church is a big whole shoal. There's a shoal right in front there. So if I go there, I go to high tide to do a little fishing. Outside of that, no, I'm gone. Backstrack again is another bit of frustration. Once upon a time, you could go into Backstrack, you could drive right down between the trees and everything, go all down to Freshwater Bay and everything, and then relax and enjoy yourself. Now you got to come up top by the tanks on top of the hill, come over the top of the hill and try to wriggle your way down to. If you don't have a 4x4, you can't do that when you're going down to Freshwater Bay. So it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge for us. So what has happened on the West Coast, they're now looking to replicate that from Pile Bay up. And we have got to be careful as Bajans that we don't end up to be another set of glorified slaves along that stretch. We must set up policies where Bajans are owners, where we dictate the pace. It may not happen in 2026 or 2030, but if it happens in 2050, and this generation is gone and the next generation takes over, then we are building an environment for Bajans. Because what we are seeing now, we have built the West Coast. And tell me, along that whole stretch of West Coast, how much ownership do we have along that whole stretch? Starting from there at the by the SO station at the end of Black Rock, right down to Six Men's Bay. Tell me how much ownership we have of Bajans owning that stretch on the West Coast. We have given it up. And now we're looking to come and give up this area of Bridgetown, especially Bronx Beach. We can't afford to sit down and allow that to happen. Bronx Beach should remain as is, because it is crowded now, but we can abide with it. But what the current plans that we are seeing in place, Browns Beach is not going to get any bigger, but we're going to start to put structures in place where people are not going to feel psychologically comfortable to come to that area and relax, because you're going to be subjected to so many things. You can't park there, you can't park here, you can't bring in that, you can't put the chair here. That area there belongs to the hotel. You got to carry down your chair a little further, you know. Yes, we're not going to be able to have it like before. Folks go down there, they play their racquetball. Go anywhere on the beach, they play their racquetball. You can run, you know, run as you feel like. But that's going to be a very crowded area, and may God help us. May God help us.
Saying that. Over to Mr. Lewis. You had
Yeah,
something.
yeah, no. But I was going to say to Marcia that righteousness exalts a nation, you know. So as long as you remain in tune with the will of God, He is going to allow things to materialize in your favor. And we've got to stay grounded on in faith that, you know, that will transpire. But I want to go back to what you said earlier, that of course Bill Gates don't want any explanation, because the explanation will cause things to be exposed. So he shut it down early, because any explanation in terms of criteria or otherwise, then things that he really want to be held under the bushel will be exposed. So he doesn't want that, you know. So I think the same thing should apply uh, to this current environment of immunity, that we need to know what criteria was employed, what criteria um, were employed to um, to merit this status by the, what's the big name there again?
You mean Bill
What's the big
Gates?
name there? No, no, the bank. What's it?
Afrexim Bank.
A
Yeah,
Fraxim bank.
Afrexim
You
Bank.
know,
Yes.
yes, you
Yeah, it's
know,
hard to call sometimes.
right. So how could we there the Kenyan government is asking for the criteria, what circumstances, give us an explanation, be very clear to the people, be transparent, you know, bring the documents, let everyone be able to just peruse and see, you know, what steps were taken, what were the circumstances surrounding, what criteria did you use, you know. And I think that we are very much on track with
Yeah.
this, and these questions, you know, must be asked. But I don't know in terms of the legal minds, Marcia. And well, you know, I really want to hear from the Prime Minister on this one. You know, what constitutes, what are the circumstances surrounding, what criteria was used in order to give the Afrexim Bank immunity. I know that when you have embassies in the country, the Canadian embassy, the American embassy, we know that those folks have, you know, carried this whole status of immunity. What criteria was employed, was mobilized in order to um, for this bank to have this status. And you know, our prime minister talk pretty, you know, rare pretty, rare pretty. But at the end of the day, I would always say to my wife, you know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And
Hmm.
looking at all your fancy styles and with this product, at the end of the day, I want to take that pudding and eat it. Then to be able to give a determination as to what it really is,
Yes.
you know. And as I was saying from before, this whole concept of cognitive dissonance,
Mm-hmm.
Mia, our prime minister, speaks beautiful, wonderful, very convincing. But at the end of the day, when you start to read that front print, you see the amount of lies that are being told to the people of Barbados. And we have got to be very conscious. Don't get carried away by emotions. Don't get carried away by the pretty long talk. But be able to analyze and draw your conclusion on what is being said, not how it is being said, and the whole pretty words that are being used. Don't get carried away by that. I would sit down and I would admire, you know, Beautiful orator. Speaks wonderful, man. Convincing. But at the end of the day, what? If your morning words don't equal your evening words, you're telling lies. And you cannot be respected as a person who we can trust to take this country of Barbados forward. I want to look out for the policies and plans that will be put in place for that area of Bronx Beach, because that's my area. That's my area. Just now I gotta look at the buy a boat and come in from the beach. That's gonna be my access. I gotta come round from the East Coast, come up the corner by Colbert, and come in at Bronx Beach at some point in time. If you don't be careful as to what policy that will be put in place up there for us. And Maxine, you better watch out. I am looking for the legal fraternity of who will step up to the plate and answer the same questions that were asked by the Kenyan court. You know, what are the circumstances leading to the development of this status for the Afrexim Bank? What criteria was used? You know, and I think those are valid questions coming from the loyal opposition. And I'm hoping that we can get some kind of response, but coming from a lawyer, coming from the High Court, coming from any judicial environment that can speak towards, you know, the importance of these questions. I wonder how many crystal hands do we have out there that can step up to the plate without having a political mind, but be able to ask objective questions and seek the responses so that the people of Barbados can see some transparency in what is being mobilized in this country. All of the things that, you know, we can look at oak trees there. That person was traveling with a knife because you can see that that was cut, you know, and the person then just pull the trees up and just toss them here and there. They pull them up meticulously and they seek to make the impact on every single plant that she has in that garden. And of course, if you do an investigation into this matter, you will find out that this person knows that individual personally and has something against that family. So that should be a pretty easy case, in my opinion, for the police to investigate.